Joe Biden let go? Which ones must he respond to?
I think in the end of the day, he's got to say what it's. Look, I can say whatever you want about your family. You can say whatever you want about my family. But this is a debate about the American people and their family and their future. He's got to. In 1992 in New Hampshire, Bill Clinton said, the hits on me are nothing like the hits your kids are going to take unless we turn this country around. It's their kids, their future. Don't make it about two guys just fighting about themselves. Go to the American people, right to the camera, look at them and say, this is your fight, and I want that fight for you.
Matthew Dowd?
I think how Joe Biden handles the disruptive force that is Donald Trump, the bull in the china shop. And I think if he picks one or two moments as that disruptive force comes at him, acts calm in the interim, but picks one or two moments and forcibly pushes back on the bull that's going to be wrecking the china shop at the debate tonight. That's what I'm looking at.
Byron Pitts.
George, tonight we are a troubled land. So I think it's who comes across as the divider in chief, who comes across as the uniter in chief.
And Martha Raddatz, I'm going to put you on the spot. If this were you tonight, what would be your first question, or what do you think Chris Wallace's first question will be?
Well, I think you have to ask about the tax story. That's the most recent bombshell to hit. So I think that's what you have to ask. And then you move on after that. I think we know that Donald Trump will be combative. The line that hit me from Donald Trump Jr. was that his father has to be his father. I don't think you'll really see a different Donald Trump tonight. I think you'll see the man we saw in 2016 as well being combative.
Dan Abrams.
I think the key here is going to be how much Joe Biden engages with the president's attacks on him. We know they're going to be personal. It's going to be about his son. It's not going to just be about his record. And it's not just going to be what he says. It's going to be how he says it. Is he calm? Is he pithy? Key issues there.
Kate Shaw.
You know, Democrats aren't always great at placing the Supreme Court front and center in these debates. And because of the circumstances, I think there's no avoiding talking about the Supreme Court, about the future of legal abortion in this country, about the future of health care, and the Supreme Court's at the center of all of those issues.
Terry Moran, you get the last 15 seconds.
Each candidate has a personal issue hanging over their heads. Is Joe Biden too old, too feeble? A lot of voters wonder about that. Is Donald Trump, can he really be president, or is he just a Twitter troll? George?
Those are some of the big questions on the table tonight. We are just 15 seconds away now from the first presidential debate of 2020. That is the scene in Cleveland, Ohio. We'll be right back.
All right. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? This is the student master teacher, Mr. I Stay Woke, Chris Monroe, and I'm right back at you with a political video. Tonight we got Donald J. Trump, and we got Joseph, I think it's R. Biden, if I make it up right, Joseph Biden, about to get on here and duke it out. We're going to find out what they talking about. Are they going to make America great? Or are they going to do whatever Joe Biden says he's going to do? We're about to find out the golden rule. Give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share if you care. What's up, Tiffany, Miss Make It Happen? How you doing over on Facebook? What's up, Bliss UTV? What up, everybody? What up, Ty? And let's try them to go live. Let's see what they're talking about.
Now, Donald Trump and Joe Biden will take the stage for 90 minutes, 6 topics on the table. The big question, will the candidates do anything tonight to change the course of this race? President Trump is behind right now, has been for months, and our statistics guru Nate Silver at 538 calculates that Joe Biden is coming into this debate season with a 78% chance of winning the White House. But there are 3 debates, 5 weeks to go, and President Trump has a history of shaking things up. Our chief White House correspondent John Karl is on the scene in Cleveland.
George, Donald Trump goes into this debate with his back against the wall. By every publicly available measure, he is losing this race, trailing in the national polls, no consistent lead in any of the top dozen most competitive battleground states. He needs to change the dynamic of this race, and tonight is the best chance for him to do it. He's been here before. 4 years ago, his campaign was collapsing, and he turned it around in part with a debate and going relentlessly and ruthlessly on the attack. I expect that is what he will try to do tonight.
Okay, John Karl. Mary Bruce also in Cleveland covering the Biden campaign. Joe Biden has been here before as well, not at the top of the ticket, but he has had 2 vice presidential debates during the general election season.
George, this is his 27th debate for the White House, but Joe Biden has never faced an opponent before like Donald Trump. He says all he has to do to win here tonight is tell the truth, but it is not going to be that simple. Joe Biden knows that Donald Trump is going to make this personal. He is going to go on the attack. Joe Biden's goal and his challenge here tonight is to try and rise above that, to not get dragged down into some brawl with the president. Biden will fight back if the president misconstrues his record, if he goes after his family, but don't expect Joe Biden to spend a lot of time here fact-checking the president. Instead, he wants to speak directly to the American people. He wants tonight to be about the issues. He's going to hit the president on taxes, on his business record, and especially in the midst of this pandemic, on health care, George.
And we saw Joe Biden release his tax returns today, Mary.
He did. Joe Biden trying to get ahead, trying to draw clear contrast, trying to set the tone for the debate to come. He did release his tax returns today for last year, drawing a sharp contrast with the president and that blockbuster New York Times reporting. Joe Biden, we now know, last year paid about $300,000 in federal income taxes. We still don't know what the president paid because he has not released his tax returns yet. It is likely to be the first question here, George.
The moderator, Chris Wallace, is on the stage right now. He's outlined 6 topics for the debate, starting out with from the Trump and Biden records: the economy, COVID, Supreme Court, race and violence, election integrity. Let's go to Chris Wallace.
Good evening from the Health Education campus of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic. I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the 2 candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
How you doing, man? How are you? I'm well.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight: why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, good in every way. In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time. Even if we did it after the election itself, I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that, he ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice, she seems like a very fine person. But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
during
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist. You're going to socialist medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won, were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing-
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And if
this.
you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe,
which
which was heavily
Mr. President,
You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr.
Much
President,
later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million people.
You're not gonna be able to
President, as
shut
a
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I don't
court.
think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would
And
you
you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a minute?
her view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't know her
don't know.
view.
Well, all right, let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So on health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they
If
want to
I-
give
if I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I may ask
Go
my
ahead.
question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you an
rid of
opp-
the
I'm gonna-
individual
when I finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me,
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I-
worst
I
part of
didn't ask,
Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The
no,
individual
I-
mandate was the most unpopular
Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like you
and we
to-
will
Mr.
protect people with
President, I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer
Go
your
ahead.
question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump healthcare plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care.
What about
All of the
pre-existing
things that
conditions?
we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
healthcare.
give you an example, insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny
As
fraction.
I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about,
big. This
you'll
is
be happy,
big stuff.
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare. And
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will, if
I'm
I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
Not what your
end.
party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie
Number-
Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left, on the manifesto,
when
we
you-
call it.
when
And that
manifest-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you
I'm
saying
not
you
going
didn't
to listen
agree?
to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm
Not by
here
much.
standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2
I
days
tell
early.
you,
You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do
Super
is hurt.
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree-
want to
Hey,
make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy, the
Go,
wrong
Joe,
night at
go.
the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you
to,
have any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized,
doing?
They call it
Mr.
Do you
Mr.
have any
President.
do?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I
President.
tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care because
Bernie?
because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two,
yeah.
there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you realize if you're both speaking at the same time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president. Go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better. And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed that. They shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay. I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
And I
known
just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people
we
said.
do want to get rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir, but
something
I have to
cheaper
give
and
you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right.
He's
I have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because,
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a lot
is,
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is,
justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
We have
He's
ended,
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure do.
47 years, you've done nothing. They understand.
Oh,
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward. In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
Far
There was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
You made a point. Let him answer it.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far more people. Far more people.
And
you would have been.
And by the way,
months late.
your own
You were months behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson &
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and then-
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future, because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that
call
the
them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui?
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available. not when
Well,
it will
we're going to
be.
deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering
the
the
same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically,
That was
and you
him.
know that.
I-
That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you
Everybody
can't, or
knows.
Senator
And
Harris is saying you
no,
can't trust the scientists.
No. You can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not, they're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and
scientists that are in charge.
by the way,
They will have the
and
vaccine very soon.
Let him finish.
do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done
Well,
nothing.
let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
this.
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
You see,
and
We're
it's
going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast. I look
Okay.
forward to talking.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide
Tell that
them
to Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi and Schumer.
By the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with the Senate. And he sits on his golf course. And well, I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play more than I do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact?
Well, he wants to shut down this country,
Oh.
and I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it down. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to another subject.
But those states are not doing well that are shut down right now.
Respond to that.
President Trump, you have begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
I think
the
masks
efficacy
are okay.
of
You have to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I wear masks when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also said the opposite. They've also said
no serious person said the opposite.
Well, look
serious.
at Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the opposite.
He did not say the opposite.
We got a little bit more than a minute left in this
masks
segment.
Are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks good. I'm okay with masks.
I want to ask you both about one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with...
Because nobody will show up.
People with...
What's true? Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
but are you not worried about
a job as a president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you not worried about
we
the
have
disease
a lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative effect.
No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 35,000, 40,000 people at these rallies.
Just quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraging them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
Nobody cares.
gentlemen? Can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's his
wrong state.
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency, not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses, nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right, your time is up, sir. Well, we are going to get to.
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools, no, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know
We're
how
going
I
to get
found
back,
out? When you took a
gentlemen,
phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax
one year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have a very, I built
Sir,
a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you.
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand all of
return.
that.
But let me-
No, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars. And you'll get to see it. And you'll get to
When?
see it. But let me just
Inshallah?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't
Why didn't you
president.
do it over
Because
the
you
last
weren't
25
president
years?
screwing
No,
things
no.
up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were a
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including
Gentlemen.
fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Well, by the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the The corporate tax, 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when
dollars.
you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
That's right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
You got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for the American people.
Let me.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
Sir,
since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID
when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back the
gave up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
Let him know.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not having
And they didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true.
Let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't
Totally,
get $3.5 million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask the question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he
let's
didn't get
talk-
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But,
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the media, by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even
Mr.
the
President,
people who
please stop.
testified under oth.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
every-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under.
He got $3.5 million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I did
really?
it
I'd like to know who
honorably.
they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do
Well,
a good
here's
job. with you.
Go ahead. You get the, wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This.
Hey,
this
let me just say to you,
No. Mr. President.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's already.
My family lost a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such a,
right
that's
here.
Mr. President.
Every single one of them lost.
This is not about my family or his family. It's about your family, the American people. He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
All right. That's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
get rid of
is
the
you know what,
absolutely not
Stop.
true.
doing it.
You're going to
On
have
tape.
True.
Gentlemen.
Is-
I hate to raise my voice,
he's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you? So here's the
That's a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Well, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
No, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever said anything like that.
It is who's
now, second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African-American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community. You have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990s, and that's why if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. Because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place, and you say peaceful protest? No, it's not, but you say it is.
President Trump, I'd like to continue with the issue of race. I promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody else. And he would know.
What is radical about racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's racist.
You just don't.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about this than he does.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is the meaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to, many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but the
Lord.
reason is that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned. Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go ahead. Say it.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order. Law and order.
Let him.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more than ours.
All right, we're not. Mr. President, you're going to. Mr. President,
every record in the
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
We had trouble. We're Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone. And you would see problems like you've never seen.
He wouldn't know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not. I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles on racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. Yeah. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police offices. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding, and his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support. Look, he has no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
that's
nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do
No, no,
anything.
think
So
about
listen,
it.
all right,
Name
folks,
one law enforcement group that came out and
I think,
supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it.
But
should
you've
be
never called
prosecuted.
for the people, the leader. Excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call
Because
bring in
they-
the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here-
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
I sent in the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals to
question.
get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I
Please
had to send
interrupt
in the
him.
U.S. Marshals.
President
They took
Trump,
care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said.
She said that.
Adam.
And so here's the,
All right.
but here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point is that that's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly
Well, wait, I
criticized.
have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
you have
just 1
no.
second.
You've been talking
You
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would
no,
love
you
to
know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You
we
know, if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd
I'm
send
no,
in the
I'm-
National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say, I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right
So
wing.
what are you
If
saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left.
FBI director
This
said
is a
threatened
left-wing
on
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
it's an idea.
FBI, his
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no, we're
wrong.
done. We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody
We're moving.
When a
Good
bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's
administration.
not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas. that are-
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above. There has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings. And if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got $3.5 million.
And by the way, my son,
wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it. And why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word.
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking about Hunter? Are you talking about Hunter?
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. Once you became vice president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
He made a fortune.
My son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he given tens of millions of dollars?
But he wasn't given tens of millions of dollars. That is totally discredited.
We've already been
totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
$3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
Let's talk about
not true. That report is totally discredited. Mitt Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report was written for political reasons.
You know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting. for a
believe
lot of people.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. It shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car. And you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California, they've simply
No, but you
ignored
would take
your
a lot of cars
rollback.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And and I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. infrastructure. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not 15 bucks an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that, in fact, is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion and say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that, well, the fact is, it's all true. And here's the deal.
He's talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they want to rip down buildings and rebuild the building.
No,
it's the dumbest, most ridiculous. Where airplanes are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they want to take out the cows too. That's not true either, right? This is a $100 trillion. That's more money than our country could make in 100 years if we're
not
going
the case.
All right, let me because I actually, wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs, and these tax incentives for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's what he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up.
We are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. But the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is not my plan.
That's
the Green New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is
building.
Not my plan.
I want to rebuild every.
If he knew anything about,
He made a statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
what
not
he
true.
did is
You're done in this segment.
He called
Mr.
the military stupid bastards.
I
and he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape. He said stupid bastards. He said it.
Stop.
I would never say that.
Play it.
Stop.
Play it.
Go ahead, Mr. Vice President. answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support?
No, I don't support the Green New Deal.
You don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden.
lost the radical left.
I support
you
the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment. Election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well, because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats. It's
President
fraud.
Trump,
It's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so, because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them. We don't like them. We don't like them.
But what are you going to do about it? There are millions of ballots going out right now.
What you do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot, and that's okay, or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people.
You go and vote. You go and vote
like they
used to in the old.
Millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country.
There is no.
This is not.
There is no.
This is not
evidence
going
of
to
that.
end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is
of that.
not going to end well.
5 states
In fact,
have had
go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by the time, by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
the
wrong.
outcome.
You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on
I
this,
love
Vice President Biden. because
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a
in fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you have 80 million ballots,
I have a final
Senate
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already
All
it's
right.
been
So now,
fraud.
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen. In the
185
final
billion
question
pieces of mail a
is,
day.
in 8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking. In 8
it's a
states,
disgrace.
election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
could be months,
until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common sense,
does that mean you're
I'll tell
going
you
to
what
tell your
it means.
people to take to the
It means you
street?
have a fraudulent election. You're
And what are
sending
you
out
gonna do?
80
And
million
what would you
ballots.
do about that?
They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
You think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
You had an opportunity to
Look at
respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice President
happened.
Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome, and I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it. This is the end of this debate.
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night.
Well, it is hard to know where to start.
All right, there you go. You got you a debate. Pretty gone. Civil War. You never know. Hope not, but it's possible. Anything is possible. If you're watching on this stream, make sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and give it a share. And there is Miss First Lady Melania Trump. And I think her name is Jill. Is that her name? Jill Biden? Jill and Joe. What do you know? They're up there with their wives. Last minute photo ops. They cannot shake hands due to the coronavirus. And she got her mask on now. Dang. Everywhere she goes, she got on her mask. She about their life. Let's see. This was like watching my parents argue. Horrible. Well, they were talking over each other a lot. And that was the part that I did not like. I want them to be able to say, get their point out, because we want to let them say their talking points so it can be debunked or verified as truth or fact, because it could be a lie. Could be good. Let's see. The YouTube stream. Yeah, we're on YouTube as well. We're streaming live right now on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch. And we got about 80 people on here across all platforms right now. So, yeah, if you have any comments you want to actually come in to the stream, you can do that. I put a link up on my real estate website. Just go to wokerealestate.com. There's a link right at the top of the page. And you can actually join into this stream. And we'll bring you actually in on the stream. And you can say any comments you may have. I'm going to leave it open here for a couple of minutes. and see what you all think. If you think it was good, if you think it was bad, let me know. If you think it was sad, you never know. But overall, I mean, I think it was a short debate. I think they could have left at the end of it to say, you know, final 2 minutes, closing arguments, something, and let them say something at the end versus, I'm just going to cut it off. That's the end of this debate. That's it. You know, I understand. They did go over about, it looks like almost 5 minutes if it was really supposed to be 90 minutes, but a lot of that was talking over one another, being disrespectful, calling each other names. That guy is like, man, it's like 10-year-olds playing on here. Like, what the heck? And it was hilarious. It was funny for sure. It was a lot of funny points. Angie says, this is so discouraging. These are the people, the leaders of the free world, potentially. One of these guys will be sworn in again on January 20th, 2021. And that's how it's going to go down. Somebody's going to vote. Somebody's going to have some hope. And somebody's up on them ropes. Let's see here. Is it me or did Chris allow Biden to speak more? Well, it was pretty close. I wouldn't say he spoke more, but he did stop Trump a lot more. Like, hey, yeah. Although Trump was over talking Joe Biden, well, they were over talking each other. I think Trump was slightly over talking a little bit more, but you know, it is what it is. How do you get multiple streams, Chris? Oh, well, it's called technology. If you actually go to wokerealestate.com and go to the marketing page, I show every system that I use for every business that I use, almost for everything I use for streaming, for real estate and more, wokerealestate.com. And if you want to actually come into this stream and ask any questions, you can as well. You can come on camera or you can just come on audio like we're doing here. I'll keep it open for another few minutes before we wrap this thing up. So we'll do that just like that. Just go to wokerealestate.com. Let's see here. It is what you make it. That's true. It's comedy hour. Show Bob's and all. Say it was pure comedy. Let's see what we got here. No plan for 2021. I can hear that. Let's see here. They don't need closing arguments. They've been arguing the whole time. That is true. But at least they could have got something out here. Somebody knows the truth. I got you there. The energy in the room was best of the night. Night all. Okay, cool. And we'll do. So let's see if we got a couple people here. So like I said, if you want to come into this stream, just go to wokerealestate.com. There's a link right at the top of the page. It brings you straight into this live stream. It says join or something. I don't know. I made it real simple, like where you can't mess up. Let's see who we got here. Kendo. Let me take this other thing off. What up, Kendo? What's up?
What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All
What
right.
do you think about that debate? Who do you think won and why?
First and foremost, shout out to you for the stream and stuff like that. Appreciate it. I was watching from Periscope, East of All Nations from Periscope. Man, I think Trump got him on that one. Like, Joe did not have enough energy and did not put enough effort. It looked like he took. I see what he kind of did. He took the calm approach. He wanted to make Trump kind of look like more of the aggressor. Smart tactic if you have a structure behind it. It looked very unstructured and kind of weak out there, a little flimsy on certain topics and subjects and rebuttals as well. But I didn't call in and talk about either of them. I called in to talk about the poor job of the moderator. America, we got to do better at picking our moderators. I don't know what the process is behind that or whatever, but I just felt like Chris, he was the loser. He was the true loser in this debate because he did not have control at all. He kind of, it was at one point where he just kind of let him go. Like he just sat up there and said, "Oh man, skip this, man. I'm just finna let these guys." You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you can't do that as a moderator, as a person that controls the situation. You got to know when to step in. It kind of also seemed like he was a little bit biased too, at certain points in certain moments where he kind of leaned a little bit more towards Joe. You're supposed to be a very neutral moderator. when these discussions are happening, and you're not supposed to be that revealing, especially on TV. I really had a problem with him saying to the president, don't get me wrong, like I'm not the biggest Trump fan or anything like that, but he said to this man that maybe they should switch places.
He did hit him with that one, though.
Completely inappropriate. Like, bro, you gotta chill, man. Like, hopefully he's not showing up back at any of these events again. And if he does, he has a little bit more training to kind of, groom him for this. Like, yeah, I don't know how they vet these moderators, but this moderator was way too weak.
But like Angie say here, how can you control them? That's uncontrollable. Both of them were kind of talking over each other, talking over him, disrespectful. I mean, you have to keep it moving. I mean, what could he have done? Like muted their mics?
I guess so. I mean, as a moderator, I would suppose that he probably does have some kind of switch or overlay or something like that he does have that he probably wasn't utilizing in because of the heat of the moment. And I get it. It's live. When things are live, you're in the heat of the moment, you're on the main stage in front of America, you probably forget these things, right? But there has to be something for these moderators to be able to just cut it off, like, hey man, or turn their mic down, whatever the case may be. I don't think they're just moderators just sitting there and like, okay, guy, okay, no, Trump, no, Joe, no, nah. Like, yeah, they got something, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think they're using it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult job. I wouldn't assume that it's easy, especially when you got Trump talking over you, Joe Biden talking over you. He probably got an earpiece in or something, telling them certain things. Who knows? It's not easy for sure. So, it is what it is. They shouldn't have kept interrupting each other, though. I mean, that was really something they should have done better.
Yeah, absolutely. This was just a pissing match. This was kind of like a petty fest. Hey man, if you ever went to like an old nursing home, you just seeing two old men like bicker and argue and stuff like that. It was very much a senior citizen argument right there. But yeah, like I think it kind of got to a point to where like the moderator again should have just stepped in. He should have caught it, and you can't be the one placing yourself in the game when you're the umpire. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to do this stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's difficult. So overall, what's your takeaway from this whole thing?
My takeaway from this whole thing, just again, on a moderator perspective, they got to do better vetting these moderators, whatever they have to do to kind of control or manage the middle ground. They should be more prepared for that. And yeah, look, you do got a president on stage. You do got a Democratic former vice president on stage. So they do hold a presence. So of course, the weaker person in the situation is the moderator, but they should have a little bit more leverage on their side too, to kind of help them guide the debate along. This debate though was absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. And I think the moderation contributed to that as well.
I think he did about as good as he could do because, like I said, it's difficult. I mean, and I know Chris Wallace isn't the best, but when these other guys come on, when you see them in these other debates, those guys are fully on board for the Democrat side. No question about it. No gray area. At least Chris Wallace kind of fake it and kind of, well, come on, sir, kind of a little fake it here and there, jab you. But these other cats, Trump would have been in the fight with them already. He wouldn't even stop right there.
Yeah. At one point, it looked like Trump was fighting both Chris and Biden during that debate. I don't know if anybody else down there on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope where I was at seeing that, but it looked at one point like Trump was debating against both of these guys, and it shouldn't look like that ever at all. There has to be a middle.
Yeah, that's true. So overall they basically you think it was just a bad debate? They needed more time, you feel like, or what could have made it better?
I think they should have let them rock a little bit though. Like
Yeah.
honestly, the 2 minute with everything that's going on, there should have been kind of, at least give them 30 more seconds or something like that, or kind of look like stretch it out a little bit. I get that, time is money, the airtime or whatever. It's not, but there's a lot of pressing issues, especially with COVID-19. I wish they would have elaborated a little bit more on that situation. The protests, I wish they would have been like, give them an extra minute or two on that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just saying that because it's a special interest of mine. I'm saying that it's a special time in America to where American people need to hear this a little bit more better.
Yeah, I can understand that. Cool. What's up, Theus?
Hello, sir. How you doing today?
Peace to the family. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing okay, man. I was actually missing a couple of parts of the debate because I was actually doing some cold calls. I actually talked to somebody about a property, but I remember when Donald Trump addressed the the whole crime bill and also the super predator comments and stuff. And I don't believe that I caught a response for that. That's something that Joe Biden really haven't, to my knowledge, really addressed. Did he address that accusation? Because as the videos are all over the goddamn internet showing that he said that. So did he respond to that?
And that was a mistake on Donald Trump's part. He's supposed to hit him and then shut up and let him try to defend that stuff. Give him a chance to mess up versus trying to keep hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. He didn't know how to jab, stick, and move. He was just trying to slam on him and, kind of messing up. He should have just, hit him with that and stop and let him defend it like you're saying, basically. But I don't feel like he gave him an opportunity. Or maybe it was Chris Wallace. I don't remember exactly. When I watched the replay, I'll see that it didn't look like he got a chance. Did you see something like that, Kendo?
Yeah, I believe Chris cut him off. And Joe kind of muttered a little. He kind of deviated on that response a little bit because, I just be watching facial expressions and stuff like that when they come to these debates. So as soon as he said it, the look on Joe's face was iconic. Like that's a meme somewhere. That's a meme somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So the takeaway of this, there was a lot of situations though that on both sides that they kind of deviated away from. And again, there was the little petty piss fighting matches and stuff like that, and they were going back and forth. So it kind of didn't give you clarity in this debate as far as those responses.
Yeah, I would really like an actual some kind of explanation for that, man, because he's like we already got Trump inside there, you feel me? And we just want to try to make sure that if Joe Biden get back inside there, Trump did have a little bit of a backing because of the fact that he have been actually releasing all these folks from jail recently. I'm not really saying I'm a real Trump supporter or anything like that, but he does have that history now, and we're trying to shit. Are we going to get more of that under Joe Biden? Are we going to try to get all these exonerations for these people going to jail for no reason? For small weed charges and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't. It'd be very concerning if we got Joe Biden back inside there and we just got more of the same. You know what I mean?
It's going backwards. They call it hustling backwards, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so,
we don't want to do
what is
that.
the sentiment? I've been seeing something, on the internet and in real life, out on the streets and everywhere. It does seem like more black people are actually I don't really support Trump, but I think they're gonna vote Trump. Is that something you seeing too, or is that just me?
You are not too far away from the truth, bro. I'm starting to see a lot of black people. How they used to say that, everybody would make it seem like they was gonna vote for Trump, and all of a sudden the motherfucker won. So, I'm honestly thinking, it's going to probably go that way as well. I mean, like, you're going to have all these people. I mean, like, black people might end up being like the white women in the last election. All this stuff for that. Oh, I don't like Trump. He's this, he's that, it's this and that. And next thing you know, we got majority of these damn black people, well, majority probably black men, are going to go ahead and probably vote for him. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, personally, I'm going to go ahead and back out this year.
Cheering for him.
Huh?
I seen a group of black women cheering for him.
Yeah, you got a small group of black women cheering for him, but you know, I mean, let's just get on some real stuff. I mean, like them government subsidiaries that you know, a lot of women of all races live off of. You know, I don't think it's, you know, I don't want to really sound like that, but I don't think black women are about to go ahead and give up any of the privileges that they have. That the government be able to give them through, like Section 8 and you know, welfare and stuff like that. They ain't, I mean, like, I hate to really say it like that, but they ain't about to get that up, bro.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I mean, I just what I've been seeing, you know, I'm like, man, it seems like it's a lot more black women and black people in general doing it. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up right here for you. I think. Let me see if I can pull this video.
Yeah, pull that up. I mean, I see a lot of black.
I don't believe that. I gotta bring receipts, man. I can't be on here just saying no any old thing.
Can I comment on that?
Bring that up, brother.
Can I comment on that right quick?
Can you hear that?
Wow.
This is surprising to me. These must be diamond and silks for family members. This is crazy.
And it's in North Carolina.
I don't know too much about them folks out there. I'm from California, brother. You know, our black women in California ain't going for that. They ain't about to be voting for no Trump out there in California.
Well, it's a highly liberal state. You didn't expect anything different, did you?
No, I know for a fact that California gonna win over, but
I don't know if it make it to California, bro. I'm in a swing state right now, Wisconsin. So, you know, we decided the last election, right? And so it's a lot of mix that I've been seeing here. And it's there's men, you know, black men voting for Trump. There's you know, black women dedicated to Biden. But there's a lot of other minorities that's included in this as well. So, you know, in this focus, I get that, you know, we as black people, you know, we want to see change and stuff like that, but we are still at the bottom when it comes to immigration and new people coming in this country with the access to vote. And not only that, we're talking about felons get to vote sometimes, you know, this time too, right? So think about how many felons on the other side are getting to put in their 2 cents on this topic too. So this election is going to be very, very different than the last one.
And what are your thoughts about the mail-in ballots? How they were like, oh, well, it's okay to just mail in millions and millions of ballots and it'll be okay. I mean, do you think that's all going to work out, or do you think there's an opportunity for fraud or something negative?
You want to go first?
No, I want to hear what you say on that one, sir.
Okay, cool. I kind of agree with Trump. Hate to say it, but I kind of do. As the U.S. Mail-in system has been stagnant during COVID. All right. I know a couple postal workers. A lot of them are going through burnout or being overworked and stuff like that. So it just depends on where you at, kind of thing. I don't know what the post offices are looking at, like where y'all are at, but our mail over here has been kind of slow. I will say that.
Yeah.
All right. What I got to say about it is that I really have not looked into it. I've just been hearing a couple of things about it recently. I got a friend that works out there in Albany at the post office, and he just got through complaining that they're trying to go ahead and get them to work. And he's not like a temporary. He's like one of those union workers, and they're trying to force the union workers to work 12/7s, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the way up into the end of Christmas. And that I swear to God, he just got through posting it. And you know, the union folks up over there in the post office, they ain't really trying to play that stuff. So they're trying to fight that right now, from what I understand. He had like posted up some kind of note on there talking where like one of the union workers was sitting up there like talking about what was going on and stuff. So like, yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to see how the postal workers even react to that. And I commented earlier that I saw a video. You know, I be getting into a couple of conspiracy theorist stuff. You know, I'll be on some weird stuff, but one thing I saw was there was a video on a YouTube channel, Project Veritas, and they were saying that I think it was out there in Minnesota that they had like I can't remember what community it was, but it was an African community that's out there that's actually getting paid to vote. They're giving these people $200 a pop to go ahead and actually just put in a vote for their particular representative over there in Minnesota. So if that's happening out there in Minnesota, can that happen other places where people like, you know, and these people are immigrants. They, you know, they don't know too much better because like they have a weird voting process where they're from anyway, because like, you know, they're kind of forced to vote a certain way from what I understand. So they're saying that they're actually paying people about $200 a pop to go ahead and actually put in a mail-in ballot.
Wow.
And then one of the other guys even went as far as saying it wasn't an actual person on YouTube channel who was talking to somebody, and he said that they was actually going inside the voting booths over as like a last couple of elections out there in Minnesota, I believe. They went into a couple of voting booths and they like helped them vote, to like literally guide them to where to go so they can get that little $200. Now, you know, and Biden is pushing a lot of this immigrant stuff right now. You know, like, you know, I mean, like, I think everybody deserves a fair chance, but it seems like they're trying to use it as at their advantage from what I see. I cannot prove this. I just went out there and actually saw a video. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Project Veritas, but you know, they get on some conspiracy stuff, like some interesting stuff. But
I wouldn't even call it conspiracy. It makes sense. You know, I'm a person like, does this even make sense? It makes total sense. I don't even see it as a conspiracy. I'm sure that there are some people that voted that wasn't supposed to vote before, or a dead person has voted before, or something like that had to have happened somewhere. It's too many millions of votes. It's impossible to be perfect. It may not be a large number, but it can be when you have an election that's close. It can be a big deal. And when they, you know, changing all this over to mail-in ballots, I don't agree with it. You know, I don't want to do a bunch of mailing in. What happened to good old-fashioned go in and do it? Because I guess they try to scare everybody to say, be afraid of the Rona. You might catch it when you go vote. But, you know, what they'll do is mail-in ballot, and it's a lot safer. I really believe they should just stick to the traditional thing of what they were doing before and not just try to switch all these people in groups and states over to mail-in 100%. That just don't feel right to me. And for that reason, you said with those illegals.
Yeah. Another thing about the illegals, I was just watching another video made by this guy, a YouTube channel, TD Hip Hop.
Oh, yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, did you see the video when he was talking about how they was trying to pass some kind of immigration law to give the Indians, like the East Indians, an actual work visa to come up over here in large droves?
Yes.
I mean, like,
Harris, Joe Biden already said they want to do it.
Exactly, and that's kind of ridiculous how they're willing to give people that haven't even hit the country yet some type of up on the people that already lives over here in this country. I mean, like, you know, as Black people, we're perfectly able to get our skills up and learn this stuff, but nobody's trying to invest in us. They would rather invest in some folks overseas. And it's not the fact that they're getting paid less money for it. They're bringing them over here, and they're probably going to be getting paid, basically like American wages.
And that's what I want to do. Ask you guys both about what are your thoughts about that Donald Trump platinum plan, the Black Platinum plan.
Oh,
I didn't look into it. I can't comment on it.
Okay, I did. And so I think it's a start. It's not exactly reparations, but I think it's better than what I've heard. I haven't heard Obama, or I didn't hear one from Hillary Clinton. I ain't hear one from Joe Biden. Joe Biden has yet to put together anything that does challenge that. Hopefully, I mean, he'll go back in his bunker and whip something up. Yeah.
He actually released a plan too. What is it? Lift Every Voice.
Oh, Lift Every Voice. I haven't.
But his was more. It was supposed to be for us, but it kind of was tailored more for immigrants.
Yeah. So yeah,
and LGBT.
Yeah, and so that's why I really can't. That's probably why I haven't looked at it, because once something includes immigrants and stuff like that, I just completely disregard it, because that's the same thing that happened with us with affirmative action. All right. And a lot of other things that were put together supposedly for us, but then it got retailored to be inclusive to all these different type of communities that have nothing to do with us. But they were allowed to open up stores in our neighborhoods, speak different languages around us, know everything about us, but we're not connected to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of stuff that put us where we are today. There's a lot of distrust. Like I think that the Indian, whatever that is, that's absurd, but yet I do understand that there are communities that don't trust us as Black people because of what the media has done. They have tarnished our image. They have sold us a false reputation amongst the whole world. You understand? So now there's, people that find value in other different cultures above ours, but they forget that we're valuable too. I think he's trying to replenish that value. It's going to take a long time, and this is kind of a start, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I have it up on the screen here. The platinum plan. It's supposed to be, opportunity, security, prosperity, and fairness, and supposedly for Black people specifically. Now, we don't get too many things that are specifically for Black people because it always get mixed up, twisted, and misconstrued to somebody else other than us. So supposedly, these are the things that Donald Trump says he wants to do as far as Black people. Increase access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion. And that's in loans. That's not a grant. That's in loans. And like you said, it's not a reparations at all. But it is a start. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, well, they just saying that they ain't going to do none of that. What do you say to people that say things like that? Don't believe nothing they say. Right.
And it just depends on the interest back behind this. It's the first thing that really comes up that's really directly tailored to us. I wish somebody would put it, because it could be better. Somebody could put together something better. But this is what we got right here.
That's if you go pull the lever for Donald J. Trump and put an R on it.
Yeah.
So are you all both voters, or you don't really vote, or you just kind of watch it?
I mean, I exercise my right to vote. I believe that, there's a lot of our ancestors that died for our privilege to vote. So I don't see why I'm more locally focused when it comes to voting. In this election, I really can't call it. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm going to do, man. Even if I go to the poll and just sit up there and just look fucking dumb, I'm still going to exercise that right to vote, though.
I know that's right.
I am registered this year. I think I want to go ahead and actually focus on local politics. I can't bring myself to vote for any one of these guys, to be honest with you. I mean, like, it's too much bad press on too much bad press on both sides. For me to want to really vote. I mean, like, I cannot vote for either one of these guys and say people like, oh yeah, I voted for Joe Biden or I voted, but it's like a
wait a minute. If you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black.
I'm blacker than him. I'm straight.
Not
I
the
can't
guy
do
that it.
went
and got Cardi B.
Man,
And they went and got The Rock. Did you see that fake acting interview they did with The Rock?
Oh man.
Oh, geez. You know what though? It's so funny how they sit up there and try to use the celebrities to be able to go ahead and try to control our votes. I mean, like, that's one thing black folks is going to have to get out of. We gotta stop putting these celebrities inside leadership positions for us. I mean, and on top of that, Cardi B ain't black. I mean, like,
She represents black folks.
Don't.
But that's the narrative, though. They've shifted the hip hop over to other people. They've shifted the whole culture to other people. Everything we try to create or have for ourselves, everybody else hijack it, and we get the bad end of it. That's kind of sad.
I mean, but in her
go ahead.
defense,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
She do consider herself Afro-Latina, and it is a big difference, but not too big of a difference, right? There's a lot of communities that have yet to set their identity right. Kamala Harris. So when we get to a certain point to where we start, we need to do a better job at checking these people. All right, we need to do a better job in this world at kind of saying, hey, no more Rachel Dolezals and all of that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because there has been so many people that put their hand in the pot and pulled out what we were supposed to eat. You understand? So we really we're also going through an identity crisis in this nation. It's up to us to kind of like check ours and be on top of this kind of stuff too, or it's just finna run wild.
Man, when you said we got to check those people, I ain't gonna lie. The first thing I thought was getting the newspaper and smacking somebody on top of the head saying, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
We are not going there.
Man, I was at a
man.
protest here, man, and there was like some clearly like white people identifying as black. And like it's crazy, man.
Dreads and everything, huh?
Yeah, dreads and everything.
Yeah, nappier than yours.
Yo,
man.
Wow, that's the name of the game. So we got about 30-something days or something left to this election or this selection of the next president. But I do have a question for you. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?
I would say that I'm better off today. Yeah. 4 years ago, I was working a 9-to-5 that I hated.
Yeah. I can say yes and no in certain circumstances. Because of COVID, it kind of came and shook up a lot of different stuff that was on my plate. So it kind of is like a toss up, but I think there's a lot more access to stuff that I can reach for and attain for, far as it goes. Like back then it wasn't there. Now it's here for me to get, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like this gonna be a tough decision. I ain't gonna lie. Like our last election, like it was like the lesser of two evils. Like these guys are the same evil. You gotta understand. You gotta understand that these guys are the same evil. It's gonna come down to who's the better evil or the worser evil. Like I don't know how to say this like the right way to where like I'm not trying to entice anybody towards any direction here, but like it is gonna come down to like, hey, red pill or the blue pill, both with side effects.
Yeah, well, when in doubt, stick with what you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, well, you know what though? That doesn't even apply to this because you have both of these guys in a high office. So
Yeah, I don't really think they're the same at all. I don't agree with that because
no, what I'm saying
with policy, regardless of their personalities, delete the personality, their policies. What have they actually done? Joe Biden has physically and actually legislatively affected millions of black lives negatively. There's no way to get around that. We can't sugarcoat that, no matter about how evil this one is or that is. Their policy, what we really did, Joe Biden has enacted policy that has negatively affected black people, period. So I can't even try to act like they're the same. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, but Trump, he's enticed racism in a way this country has never seen before. He's kind of just let it go rampant. All right. And, you know, whenever you ask him about it, it's kind of like, like who's really wrong? Like, what? Come on, man. Like, you got to really kind of, you know, take a magnifying glass to some of this stuff when you looking at these people and their character. But yeah, like Joe Biden, 47 years of, you know, Senate work, and all he's ever done is, you know, like really put black people back and put China on top. China's rich and the #1 country in the world right now because of stuff that he done. Look up the WTO and all of that stuff. He was behind all of it. So, I mean, people need to really do their research and kind of just really go in a deep thought process when they make their pick.
Yeah, so Joe Biden responsible for all the made in China. I think Joe Biden responsible for everything saying made in China, brother.
No, not everything, but he was part of that process that put them on top, man. Just do your research. I ain't gonna sit here and, you know, give you like a 2-hour lecture and stuff like that. But I can tell you start with the WTO and then work your way up to now.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't just Joe Biden. It was the entire Democrat Party, if you want the truth.
Yeah,
you know, I don't want to bash the plantation because, I mean, I ain't on that thing and I ain't never going there. I'm sorry. It's just straight up. I just don't see nothing beneficial that comes from it. You know, and like you said, I would agree Donald Trump can say some things to stop the so-called racists or whatever you call out here. But America's been racist way before Donald Trump. These shootings been happening way before Donald Trump. All this stuff been going on way before. Even in the Obama administration, the same stuff was going on. And so the people to make it seem like, oh, well, yeah, he could speak out against it, but it's been going on before him. And me personally, I don't really even care, to be honest with you, because it's going to exist whether he speak out against it or not in reality, because this is what people have been doing in this country for, you know, many years, decades before he was even born. They say his daddy was a great granddaddy was a KKK leader or something, but who knows? Who cares? They are who they are, and they do what they do. And like I say, what are their policies when it comes to our people? They're politicians. What is the policy? Not talking points, not, oh, I think this or that, or I don't like him, or calling them names. That stuff is for kids. I don't care about that. What is the policy they're doing? That's what I want to stick to, but they didn't really get into that. That's what made this debate kind of bad, because they didn't really get into that part of it.
No, they did not. Let me ask y'all this question. Do y'all think that you know, you're saying that he's saying all these things to incite racism? Is it a possibility this always have been around, but it just started getting more media press since he got inside the White House? Is that a possibility?
It's possible, yeah, because they play it up. They want to make sure, you know, the news is there every time. Because I'm here in St. Louis, and every time something kick off, they there. I'm like, dang, how the news know about this already? How they got this streaming live on Facebook already? How they know everything before it kick off? Maybe they're quick. So it's like, dang, is this staged? But, you know, I don't know. It is possible that they have, you know, used the media. They definitely used the media to put negative stuff out. I mean, I was surprised today. I saw something positive about Donald Trump on NBC, this station, or ABC. No, it was NBC. I was watching some NBC earlier, and I saw something positive for Trump because you never see nothing positive on the news about Donald Trump. I don't care what this dude do, he wrong. And that's the thing that, make you feel like, nah, something ain't right, man. I mean, I understand he ain't perfect. I want him to say, yeah, if he do wrong, expose the wrong. If he do right, say he did right. But when it's just like all 98% negative coverage on Donald Trump, that should tell you something right there.
Yeah, Donald Trump can literally save a cat and they'll find a way to turn it around on him.
He didn't get the cat down quick enough. He didn't climb the tree without his boots. Like, damn. he didn't wear
a mask
when he came down out of the tree. Like, what the hell is going on? You can't just say the cat out the tree?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's just so weird to me, man. It's so interesting to see how the media reacts to this guy. Like I mean, like shit. I grew up with Bush. I mean, and Bush was a real fuck up, but he did not nearly get as much bad press as Donald Trump did.
Right.
Yeah.
New York Times, and when it took the man tax return, he only paid $750. Ugh. Who cares? We already know he don't pay no taxes. This ain't no surprise. They tried to do an October surprise in September, and it really didn't do anything. They try to open up with it like, oh, those taxes.
Yeah, like
taxes.
I would like, why was that even a question? Like, I thought his business was very separate from his presidency. I feel like that could have been a different question in the debate. Hey, what's done is done. Look at it like later, but I don't think that should harm his presidency or should have been asked in any kind of way in this election, like or debate. I mean, like that's just ridiculous. Like, so what? He used the system, and he even said that Joe Biden signed for that, gave him a loophole to be able to do it. Hey, man, like that's just business. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get to American business now. Let's talk about how are you gonna, go after like Antifa and stuff and people that like riot and burn stuff in protests that don't have anything to do with the peaceful protesters. I would have liked to hear, a viable solution to that and many other things that could have been addressed.
Okay, so what about this COVID-19? Do you feel like Donald Trump is responsible for those 200,000 plus deaths in America?
No. That is on everybody.
No.
I would have to say no. I think that is on everybody personal. That's their personal decision. I don't think. I mean, like, it's a pandemic. People were telling people to wear a mask, and when I even go out, whether I do DoorDashes during the morning and stuff like that, and sometimes on the weekends, you go up over to these big restaurants and stuff like that, and people are sitting up there arguing about wearing masks and stuff like that. I think this is actually on the people. What Trump gave the right for the governors to be able to do their job regarding that, right?
Right.
Correct.
All right, and so it's from what I understand, so over here in Texas, they were like really lax on it. Early, during after they tried to open up, it was starting to get laxed and stuff like that, low key. Because I didn't see everybody wearing a mask, and all of a sudden, everybody had to start wearing masks when they walk inside of a establishment and stuff like that. But you got to kind of like put that on the people who's like, didn't want to wear the mask. It's not. I mean, like, you got some people out here telling people to wear a mask, and other people like, I can't breathe with this motherfucker on. Like, what the fuck you want me to do?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you talking like you an anti-masker? You don't like to wear your mask? It sounds like.
Exactly. I mean, like, you got to put that on the people because they didn't want to do that. I mean, like, you got to think about it, man. I mean, like, are y'all really willing to go ahead and start putting in military people out there in the middle of the streets for people not wearing masks? Is that what y'all expecting this man to do? You know what I mean? Like, that just sounds crazy to me. I'm just glad that we didn't end up going through a martial law like everything was rumored at that time back in about March or April. I remember that was supposed to be a thing that thankfully it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely an anti-masker. I am not for the mask. People say, "Oh, if you ain't for the mask, you're a Trump supporter." No, before Trump even said it, I know I ain't want to wear that damn mask. That's your.
Yeah, I
If you feel
understand.
like it's safer for you and you feel like it's good for you, wear the mask. I don't have any problem with anybody wearing it, but I don't want to wear it.
Exactly. I mean, I'll wear it when I go inside a business or something like that. But come on, man. When you start seeing people going out for a jog with a mask on, you looking at like, what the fuck? What, are you serious?
Running by themselves with a mask on.
Exactly. Out there in the middle of a damn park with people. Let me not even start. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nah. I kind of think it is on the president. In certain instances, and here's why. Early on, when the first information started getting dropped and stuff like that, I think he should have just stayed quiet instead of just giving unknowing solutions. Whenever you don't know something full fledged and stuff like that, you really shouldn't answer those questions. Just take proper protocols and doctors' advices and stuff like that. And even then, just on like a slightly personal note, I got a friend in China right now. They were already practicing social distancing and all kinds of stuff like that. They should have got that information out here when we donated our Ebola supply to them to help get them right. There should have been an exchange. We kind of got fucked over by them. I'm not gonna lie. In more than one way. The virus itself and the support. There are many countries now that are, completely like functioning as normal, and we're still going through it like when it first happened. So I think he could have also put more pressure on governors who didn't really want to step up enforcement, who went against them the first round around and stuff like that, because I think that a lot of people just were being rebellious about this and kind of like he don't know what he's talking about, which was true, but still it hurt more than it harmed. So
And what could he have done differently? So you saying he should have shut the whole nation down?
Almost, yeah.
Hell no, we ain't shutting this nation down for no dang thing. That's what they want us to do. That was the whole plan of the pandemic. Shut down the economy, shut down America, bring it to its knees.
Not shut it down completely for a long time, but just for a week until they figure out what was going on, which it only took them, not that long to get the information that they needed into essentials to get back working again. Yeah, and I'm just saying essentials, at that point. But there should have been something that prohibited people from spreading it more. That was more so my point, and a little bit more enforcement on people who did not want to wear masks.
Well, you really can't make anybody wear a mask anywhere in America. It's unconstitutional. It's against your civil rights. It's against all rights to make somebody wear a mask out in public, out here in the world, in America, supposedly.
In America,
some third world country, or China or Russia, or somewhere else. But in these United States, there should not be anybody that can make you wear a mask.
True. But there should have been a little bit more penalties to say, like, hey, like, this is a different time. You can exercise your American right as long as you exercise in social distancing and stuff like that. There are people that were throwing whole beach parties, all kinds of stuff, you know what I'm saying, and not getting shut down. So like on stuff like that, when there's large gatherings and stuff like that, that's impacting people's health. That's where I would disagree on that note. You know what I'm saying? When people are not practicing the protocols.
And I see you, Leo. Jump in here if you want to, Leo. WokeRealEstate.com. Got the link if you want to jump in. I'll be on a few more minutes. But what you were just saying there about shut the country down, everybody need to wear a mask. I am 100% against that. 100%. And that ain't got nothing to do with Trump or nobody's politics.
And that's
once they start doing that and taking away your civil rights and your civil liberties, they won't stop. They will keep pushing. This is what these people do. They control others. Now, I understand some people may need to wear a mask or some people may need to do certain things to stop it. but I don't want to say it's a conspiracy theory, but I have heard that they say the virus might have really even started here in America. That, I don't know if that's true or not. They said it could have really started here to begin with because they wanted to make this way. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's very well possible. Do you think
I don't
I'm
sorry.
I don't think it started in America at all. It was more so confirmed a lot of times over in China and stuff like that. I think maybe the coronavirus itself, the beginning strand probably, hey, once upon a time, but we're talking about COVID-19. COVID-19, the strand itself right here, did not start in America, and we got a lot of information that backs up that claim.
Like what? Like what information do we have to back that up?
Oh, like just a lot of scientists. There's a whistleblower that actually just came over from China. What was that? Mid-July. And the government's kind of like just keeping her sheltered and stuff like that because they're getting a lot of information from her too, to fight this. So, it's a lot of stuff that's been confirmed that this has come from China.
Well, I just honestly kind of feel that somehow it was developed over here in America. I honestly believe that it was developed over here in America, and it probably got up over there to China and got leaked. But this is what America does. I mean, these are the people who created AIDS. These are the people who created a lot of different types of diseases over here in the United States. We have a history of this. So somehow I feel that it was developed in America. I don't think it got leaked out here and spread it out here. Obviously, it spread out there in China because we was hearing about it since last November about their little situation out there with the COVID-19 out there. So there's no mistaking that. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of find it a little bit hard to believe that America would let any other country go ahead and actually develop any type of virus of any kind without them being a part of it, because this is kind of what they do.
I disagree with that. That means you're kind of denying the existence of scientists in other countries and undermining the intelligence of other countries too. China is well equipped over there. Matter of fact, they're one of the top wine industries in the world. Just hear me out. A country that probably 20 years ago couldn't get a fucking dandelion to grow, figured out a way to pollinate plants and engineer pollinators and bring bees back and stuff like that over there to where it was desolate at one point. So I would have to strongly disagree with you on that, sir.
I will have to go ahead.
We're all going off of hearsay anyway. We don't know. I mean, it's possible either way. So to really just, like I say, I'm a common sense guy. What makes sense? And I think about the end game. Remember, all this kicked off right after they've tried to impeach Donald Trump. It didn't work. It failed miserably. Well, let's drop something new on them. They dropped this thing. I don't want to say it's all about Trump because it may be something bigger than that, but it does have something to do with this election. And that's why America's still in the problem zone right now. We got all the cases all the way up through election to make sure it's on your mind, like they kept bringing it up during this debate. Oh, yeah, the COVID-19. Yeah, it's all your fault. No, we should do this and do that. It ain't nothing Donald Trump could have did that was going to save all these people like they keep making it sound like. Now, governors and other local governments, like here in St. Louis, we was on lockdown immediately. St. Louis City, St. Louis County, St. Charles County didn't go through all of the masks and all of that stuff, but certain places did it, and they didn't. We don't really have any real results. Just like the mask itself, I don't really even see any evidence that masks even help or hurt the situation in reality. In fact, when you do any research on it, it says on there it is believed that a mask could help. It doesn't say that a mask stops anything. It doesn't say that a mask is going to prevent the coronavirus from spreading. It doesn't say any of that. If you really research on it. So, a lot of this stuff is just what they tell us to be afraid of. And I understand they want to scare us all and do all this stuff, but do this election, I'm not for it.
Yeah, I mean, I wear my mask whenever I go inside a business or anything like that to respect the rules and everything. I ain't trying to go inside to have no problem. But when I'm outside, man, I mean, like, let me breathe. You feel me? But honestly, I still do believe that America, even though with that said, I still do believe that America does have a history with this type of thing. And I'm not saying that China was not capable of developing it, but I'm pretty sure somehow some scientists over here in America or some probably had a hand in developing that. I'm just saying, like, biochemical warfare is something that we're kind of known for. You know what I mean? That's
the Tuskegee Airmen, right? Or Tuskegee Airmen.
Tuskegee Airmen, AIDS, syphilis, and all kinds of different type of things. Shit like the spreading of smallpox when they came over here and gave it to the Native Americans and stuff like that. Through the blanket. That's where I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is that we have a history of it. It's kind of hard for me to believe that there was not some kind of American hand into it.
Then I got a question. Then I guess you probably don't know about the multiple companies that were finessed from America to go build over there, and the intellectual value from those companies stolen from the government itself. Not only are there car companies and other little industries that have to do with manufacturing and stuff, but also scientific institutions as well have been moving over there too. And by the way, it's not just America, it's different countries across the world. So who's to say that they ain't collecting information from different countries and kind of harnessing it there? And by the way, you can look it up yourself. They're getting into genetic studies and all of that kind of stuff, geoengineering, all of that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too quick to undermine their capabilities, and that's all I'm saying on that kind of note.
I could agree with that.
I'm just trying to feel that we've kind of been ahead of the game too long to be behind on this. What these people been having these type of technologies with probably within the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, yes, and they quickly developed and caught up. That is correct. They actually information share with a lot of countries that are around them, with a lot of countries that don't like us, that didn't like us being number one. This is why they're number one right now. You understand that? So it's not too far-fetched. That's what I'm saying.
Yep, it makes sense. So I'm gonna let y'all get a final statement out because we're gonna wrap this thing up out of here and do some more woke stuff. Final statement.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, man. I know this is a tough process to kind of deal with, especially with all that's going on in the world, but make sure y'all exercise y'all right to vote, man. Whatever way it may be, you can trust in the process and kind of mail in or urge you to just go to y'all polls, and just vote the natural way. Protect yourself. Please wear your face mask, face gear, and all of that, and stay safe.
Only thing I'm going to go ahead and try to tell people is to choose your poison wisely. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can say. Like, what are you willing to put up with for the next 4 years?
Sweet and simple.
Who you willing to put up with? Thank you both, bros, for coming in. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Don't forget, we'll be going live this Monday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, doing an actual real estate case study, showing you how I made $600 passive cash flow on a house I have no money in. And it just keeps on kicking off money. That's Monday night, October the 5th, 7 o'clock Central Time. Make sure you're tuned in for that. The following week, we're on with Chris Senegal, real estate developer out of Houston, Texas, pushing a Lexus. We're going to be on with him talking about what to do about gentrification. I know what he do. He said he going to buy back the block. Buy back the block. That's what he going to do. And let's see here. The following, is that the following week? Maybe the week after that. The last week of October, we'll be on with Mr. D. Stevens. Here it is. Bloop. Talking that real estate strategy, real estate strategist and coach. We're bringing on a heavy hitter. That's Monday, October 26th. Make sure you're tuned in for that. If you ever want to be notified of any of the upcoming live streams, please text JV to 31996. That's the keyword JV, and send that to the message. Send that message to the phone number 31996. That'll get you the free joint venture agreement and get you on the real estate notification squad for the Monday night, so you don't have to depend on YouTube or whoever you're watching through right now to remind you. If you haven't already and you're enjoying this stream or any of the things that we're talking about, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share. If you're listening on the Woke Real Estate Podcast, be sure to give us a 5-star rating. We're on all the streams. We're everywhere, baby. Hard to find, hard to grind. We're doing it like that, like time. All right. And don't forget to follow me on all social media outlets at Chris Monroe STL. That's Snapchat, that's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's YouTube. Don't forget that YouTube, where we talk about, I think I got about 250 plus real estate training videos. And if you want to join the Facebook group, it's free. Join it. It's the Woke Real Estate Investing Group on Facebook, talking about subject to, talking about lease options, talking about seller financing, and so much more. Hop on in and tell them you want to win. Thanks for that $5 super chat, Miss Shatera. You're the best. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Swan God, what up, bro? That debate murdered 2.5 billion in my brain cells. Swine God, I see you, man. It was horrible. That's true. Notes. Take notes. All right. So stay woke or wind up broke. And we're going to do it like that. All right. Let me see. Did I forget anybody? All right. I think that's going to do it, family. So let's see here. Do what you do. Be who you be. And I'll see you before you see me. Peace.
And we have and we have and we have Mr. I Stay Woke, and Mr. I Stay.
Today's broadcast is being brought to you by WokeSkipTracing.com. Look up phone numbers and email addresses with ease, with pricing as low as only 15 cents per match, not per search, per match. If there's no number or email address, you don't pay. Get accurate data in just minutes. WokeSkipTracing.com. That's WokeSkipTracing.com.